Hello there you bastards, and thank you for joining me once more in the den. Firstly, I just want to apologise to my fan for not uploading for a while. Some big changes are happening in my life and time is just not something I have a surplus of at the minute. There's a lot of stuff happening at work and I'm training externally, but it's all positive because I'm finally kind of taking hold of my life. Yes, I understand that's something I probably should have done 10 years ago, but I am a massive depressive waste of fucking carbon and I'm doing it now, okay? Rest assured, I am still creating content and that will never stop. The only thing I can't guarantee at the minute is consistency. And for that, I can only ask you to forgive me. And contrary to what I've just said, I have managed to create a second channel where I just do my sort of ranting and speaking my mind on everything that's not gaming related. So if you have time, please feel free to check that out too. Come on then, bro. Fix my wreck of a life.
Everybody can do whatever you want fucking do!
Don't forget to click the link below. Anyway, now all that's out of the way, today we are looking at a LucasArts title, if you can believe it. Is it Monkey Island? Maybe Grim Fandango? Perhaps even Star Wars Galaxy's Episode 3, Rage of the Wookiees? No, of course it's not any of those, but you already know that because you read the title of the video. No, today we are looking at the LucasArts classic, Thrillville. Specifically, Off the Rails. Yes, this little polyp was released in 2007 to what I would class as above average reviews. I must admit, when I saw this box in the store, I thought it was going to be totally nondescript and ignorable. Kind of like that pain in my chest. Turns out I was wrong. People played it, and apparently they actually liked it. They'll slap me about the face and fuck me harder than a young attractive boy in a Catholic church. The only way I'll believe any of this is to see it for myself, so let's slide this bad boy in and, see what all the fuss is about. When you start a new game in Thrillville, you are thrust into the character creation screen where you can create the sexiest teenage park manager you've ever laid eyes on. We shall call her Han Solo. Just before you get into the game, you're introduced to Professor ADHD here, who is essentially your guide around the park and it's working. He's equal parts useful and annoying depending on how seriously you're actually taking the game, and, well, you all know me.
It's the fun and excitement! Oh, hey kid, I'm glad you're here. Thrillville is getting bigger than ever, and you're just the person to run the show. As park manager, you'll have to build lots of coasters, and attractions, and ride rides, and talk to people, and play games, and have an absolutely incalculable amount of fun.
Once you eventually get boots on the ground, the first thing you must do is learn about the park using these little tutorial missions. Firstly, building, of course, teaches you how to place attractions and roller coasters, and also how to view their stats and feedback, as well as telling you how much power they require. Next is the manage tutorial, which just teaches you the basic boring stuff like guest happiness, profit, where to run promotions and hire staff, all the boring grown-up stuff. Then we're on to the guest tutorial. I'm going to talk about this a little bit now, as I will never mention it again. Obviously, guests are all unique and have their own needs and wants, and keeping an eye on this passively can help you run your park accordingly. But another more active and definitely more awkward thing you can do is sit and have a full-blown conversation with the guests to make them like you more. You do this using some really generic topics and voice lines, and you can even give them gifts to sweeten the deal. Pretty boring and very unnecessary. I mean, who the fuck wants to talk to people? Next we have the upkeep tutorial, which when I ran into it gave me a cheerleading mini-game. It wasn't until after the fact I realised it was supposed to be me keeping the guests entertained as a means of upkeeping the park. I don't know, it was pretty weird and seemed a bit nonsensical, especially considering there's an actual maintenance mini-game for when your rides break, which is actually really fucking hard. This might have been a more appropriate thing to teach you at this point, but that's just my opinion, who the fuck gives it. And finally we have the games tutorial, which is basically saying that every attraction in the park is essentially its own little mini-game. Now don't get me wrong, the mini-games aren't amazing, but hell, there's plenty to choose from and they're all definitely playable. A bunch of them are even available in multiplayer, which would be even more fun if I had a friend to play some of them with me, but, well... This particular minigame is a rip-off of those stunt bike style games which, like I say, it works pretty well, it's pretty playable. It was whilst playing this particular minigame I decided on how I was going to do the rest of the video. Instead of formatting it like a proper review and thinking of several interesting points to talk about, you know, like a real critic might do, I just decided to have fun at the park. We're going to wander around, check out some of the rides and attractions, and just see if we can have some fun. So let's do it.
Thrillville, let's go!
Saucer Sumo. Blue is in the lead.
Well, I must admit that was interesting. After playing the game for a while and playing some of the mini games and some of the park management, I can kind of see why it had an appeal now. It would be a really interesting / fun game to play with your child, for example, if you had one. The parent could take control of all the park management, you know, sorting the maintenance out, putting your adverts in magazines, making sure all the rides are working. Wait, that's maintenance too, isn't it? Cash flow and the talking to the customers and all that bullshit. And then when it comes to actually riding a ride or doing one of the jobs, it turns into a mini game. And most of them are fairly simple, and it doesn't really matter that much if you lose, so that's a good opportunity to pass the controller on to the younger generation. It'll keep them entertained for a little while, and then once they get bored of that mini game, Dad can take over again, do a little bit more park maintenance, and then try a different mini game and throw the controller back down. There really are a lot of mini games in this big game. The soundtrack, of course, is something I need to mention too. It had a lot of original songs by actual artists thrown in there on the theme park radio station, as well as some unique tracks made by, you know, some MIDI performers, I guess, for the mini games. They were a lot more jarring and unattractive. Sadly, I won't be showing any of the songs on the radio in this video because they'll all be copyrighted anyway. I'm just hoping the main theme's not, because you've heard a fuck ton of that. So yeah, that's more or less my review. I can kind of understand where the ratings came from now. It's by no means an amazing game. It's not LucasArts' best or anything like that, but it's very playable. It's pretty attractive as well. I really do like the aesthetics of all the different areas in the park, you know, with all the dinosaurs and the flying cars and all that bullshit. It is quite, you know, good to look at. Kids would definitely find it entertaining, I'm sure. So it's by no means a bad game, but it's by no means, you know, a great either. And if we're comparing it to other theme park management type games, probably bottom of the list, but I guess that's because they're all really good. But yeah, Thrillville off the rails. Not as fucking horrible as I thought it was going to be, so quite surprised. Yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all those lovely things if you wish. Thanks for coming. I need to go take a shit, so peace.